Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Cradle News Roundup coming to you live. My name is Esteban Carrillo. I am the news editor for the Cradle. I am joined by my friends and colleagues, content creator and writer for the Cradle, Karim Shami, social media manager and content creator for the Cradle, Sima Itayin. Before we start, as usual, just to remind you, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Check out our memberships here on YouTube, and above all, check out our Patreon, where you can become a direct supporter of the cradle. And as usual, well, we're not at a lack of news. We have Netanyahu asking for pardons. We have Iran seizing a new ship in the Strait of Hormuz. We have news from Venezuela. We have news from Honduras. We have so many things happening around the region. But I actually want to talk for us to start with what happened last Friday, because we haven't had a chance to really talk about it. And I'm talking about the incident in southern Syria, in the town of Beijing, in which we saw Syrians defending their land, injuring about 6 Israeli soldiers. In return, about 20 civilians, give or take, were killed by the Israeli army. But a very interesting development, given the fact that Syria, since it's falling under the control of Al Qaeda leader Ahmad al Shara, it has been a country that has positioned itself as a non-threat to Israel, right? Like even when they, even after this attack, even after this whole incident happened, and 60 and 20 Syrians were killed, the foreign ministry or the UN envoy for Syria, I think it was, came out and said, "We're not going to have any military response. Israel has nothing to worry about." Nevertheless, before we get into all the other news items, what happened in Beijing on Friday?
This was basically like a pre-dawn Israeli incursion or arrest raid that went catastrophically wrong. So and after Israeli forces who went in to detain a number of men faced popular resistance, because this wasn't policy of the current government, it was an incident of popular resistance.
Mhm.
It What ensued was a massacre in Beijing carried out by Israel. So basically, it was around 3 a.m. in the morning, if I'm not mistaken. This was on the 28th of November. A reserve unit from the Israeli occupation forces 55th Paratroopers Brigade like slipped across the border um, into Beijing, which is like a mountain town southwest of Damascus, which isn't unusual, of course. As our viewers probably know, Israel has carried out over 60 incursions in southern Syria just in November alone.
In one
So
month, yeah.
this time they encountered something they weren't prepared for. So they detained these three men, or they were trying to detain these three men, who they claimed belonged to the Muslim Brotherhood affiliated Jama' al-Islamiyya, which is a group that, as far as we know, does not exist in Syria. We have Jama' al-Islamiyya here in Lebanon. And you always have to take what the Israelis say with a grain of salt, because, as we'll discuss in a few, I mean, they kept changing their narrative. No one claimed responsibility for this, really. And we don't know if the Israelis were telling the truth, especially since we haven't heard that this group has a presence in Syria ever before this incident. So they were basically ambushed at close range by local residents, because they were like, you can't arrest these people for no reason, basically. And so a firefight of sorts erupted, if I'm not mistaken. And six were wounded. Six Israeli soldiers were wounded, three of them critically. And Hebrew media put the initial number at actually up to like a dozen injured or something like that. So, if I'm not mistaken, a military Humvee, like an Israeli military jeep, was disabled and left behind under heavy fire because they couldn't extract it. So, I guess in a way we could say they Hannibal directed the jeep. I don't know. This was being described in Israeli media as a field failure. They started all this hysteria in the media. They then shelled and bombed Beijing, pounding it for hours.
They
And
sorry to cut you off very quickly, Sim. It's just they use it as a justification for their violations, right?
for sure, definitely. And the casualties, as you mentioned, included women and children. Families were displaced. Homes were flattened, and civil defense teams were blocked from reaching the injured. Um, so, in fact, one of the men who opened fire, they say, was martyred on his wedding day. And no one really knows. We have a feature coming out about this today, by the way. No one really knows who they are affiliated with. I see it as an instance of popular resistance that I think we will see more instances like this, especially if Shara proceeds with The security agreement, even before normalization, the security agreement with Israel, if that is like finalized and concluded, I think we will be seeing more of this, But anyway, the fallout has been kind of messy, because they first, again, blamed this Jamaa al-Islamiyah and said the guys they were trying to detain were from Jamaa al-Islamiyah, who are vaguely linked to Hamas, and the group denied it, and then they started saying that, like, they were linked to Syria's general intelligence, sorry, which shocked everybody, given that Damascus not only has a weak grip on the south, but has done everything it can to constantly reassure Israel that it doesn't want to um, carry out operations against Israel. And so Israel, again, is using this as an excuse in the media to be like, you see why Ahmad al-Shara is bad. He is ordering these attacks on our forces. And we know that that isn't the case, right? Again, this is popular resistance. It's not the policy of Ahmad al-Shara. This is what happens when violations start to accumulate. People will fight back, right? So Syria, of course, condemned the raid and ruled out a response to this raid. But there are many contradictions. We don't know who exactly carried it out. I mean, we know who carried it out, but we don't know who was behind it, as the Israeli media is alleging all these different things. But I think that this exposes just a deeper truth also of that nobody is really fully in control of southern Syria anymore. Not Israel and not Ahmad al-Shara, and these things I think will keep happening. Karim?
I want to ask you actually, Karim, if for your thoughts, obviously, but also in March, before the massacres of Alawites happened in the coastal regions of Syria, the justification used by the Syrian government, the Al Qaeda government, and well, all of Western media, was that the forces, the diversity-friendly government in Syria, were attacked by remnants of Assadists, right? Like they called like whoever it was that opened fire on them just Assadis, that they needed to be exterminated, etc. Are we seeing a repeat of the same situation in the south?
Yeah, I think so. First, I just want to clarify that the town is very close to the occupied Julan Heights. It's around 2 kilometers away, and we know that since 1 year the Israelis are entering such towns and villages, and they are like arresting people. And just today, the number came out. They said there's around 43 Syrians arrested by Israel from southern Damascus or the south of Syria, and nobody knows anything about them. Can you repeat just please your question, Esteban?
I'm saying that we saw the sectarian massacres in the Alawites
Yeah,
regions in March after the security forces, the Syrian, security forces,
yeah,
were attacked by other Syrians, and now you have a case of Syrians defending their land against the invaders, right?
yeah.
Like the Israeli invaders. Um, I mean, my question is this because when it happened, I saw the word resistance being thrown around a lot. And now I feel like we're seeing more of, I guess, even it out of the narrative. And it's like, there's not really, my point, I guess, is I don't think there's really like a, like a resistance group being formed in Syria. Or am I wrong?
To be honest, يعني, anybody who is resisting the occupation of his country, regardless if it's Israel or United States or any country, we can, I think, say that they are a resistance or he's a resistance fighter because he's fighting against the occupier. Whether it's a group formed or no, still we don't know. And currently, what's the situation in our region is that whatever somebody does anything against Israel, they also always also affiliate him with Hezbollah or with Iran. I think, which is also wrong. I think the Syrians and the people that lives in that area, they have the capability to form a cell or more than one cell to resist the occupier. But the point is, as you mentioned at the beginning, that the Syrian government doesn't want that. And I
Hmm.
think if there's a cell or if there's people that want to fight Israel, they will face two enemies: the Syrian government and the Israelis. The same thing applies, unfortunately, in the West Bank, and currently the same thing is applying in Lebanon. The things that are happening in Lebanon, that the army is coming and taking out the resistant weapons, and the same we know since Oslo, since the 90s, the Palestinian authority, and especially after Mahmoud Abbas, the current president, took over, the only thing that they do is that they spy and they go to any person who's talking against Israel or wants to hold weapons against Israel, and they catch him. And as Sima mentioned, today we just published our article just now, around 5 minutes ago. And the article also talks about Beijing and what happens. And at the beginning, when the operation happened, and Israelis were shot at, and they were two soldiers were critically injured, and six were injured. Uh, what happens is that the Syrian media said that this guy who carried out the operation is affiliated with them, with the Syrian government, and then they deleted it. And the same applies to the Israeli media and the Israeli army. The first thing they blamed the Syrian government, and then when this post was deleted, suddenly they are blaming the Muslim Brotherhood, the group that Sima was talking about at the beginning. So still, I think we reached a point, unfortunately, in our region, and even for the people that are against the actions of Israel and against the Zionist entity and the Zionist
Okay.
like propaganda. People thinks now if anybody who carries on actions against Israel, he should be with a group or with a country. No, people in this region always carried out operation against the Ottomans, against France and Syria, and against
British.
Israel and against the British. It's not nothing new. Yani, if you read the history of this region, many individuals made operations like Samuel al-Antar, like even Al-Qassam, whose his name, whose Hamas named after him their military brigade. These were individuals fighting the occupier, even if it's Israel or Britain or UK or France or even the Turks. This region usually fights the occupier.
I think it's a very difficult landscape to have a proper like resistance front, like what you were asking. I think you're
Mhm.
correct, Esteban, when you say there hasn't been like an actual resistance front established. There were some reports months after the fall of the Assad government of a new Islamic resistance front in Syria that's kind of
There were
aligned with
statements,
Iran and
remember?
Hezbollah and all of that. Also around the times of the massacres in the coast. But the point is that what analysts are pointing out is that we will probably see more incidents of like decentralized resistance. Like we will see cells, we will see, because again, this is popular resistance. This will happen regardless of how difficult the conditions are. It's still happening in the West Bank,
Mm.
even with the most difficult of situations. Like, and it's very, very costly financially and not just physically to carry out operations in the West Bank. And still you see these incidents of popular resistance more often than you would expect. And I think Syria will start to see more of this. But again, like, we have these reports that, the Cradle reported on it about, the Russians coming into the south. I don't know how this will play in to everything that's happening. I don't know who's really, again, as I said, I don't think anyone's really in control there. I don't know what this is going to translate into, but it's definitely not, it definitely wasn't an operation ordered by the leadership in Damascus, even
Yeah.
if the man who carried it out was affiliated with the leadership in Damascus, or part of the government, uh, you know, apparatus in
I
any
mean,
way.
yeah, if they were part of the government, then it means that they broke with the government's directive. I saw a few people saying my volume was low. I hope it's better now. I moved a couple of things around. Yeah, I don't have much.
Before you
Go
continue,
ahead.
Esteban, and just this is the photo
Mhm.
of the guy who carried out the operation, and this is the now deleted post that was posted by the Al Thawra newspaper, which is affiliated with the current government in Damascus. And this is now deleted. We translated this for our viewers. So here they were praising him that he's with them and he's the one who carried out the operation. And now they deleted every single post about that.
Mhm.
And after that, the narrative of the Israelis changed from blaming the government of Syria to blaming the Muslim Brotherhood.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I had a different impression. I thought that when the reports first came out, that's when they first said Jamal Islami, and then they later blamed the Syrian government. Maybe the order is wrong. I don't know. But either way,
Maybe.
they kept changing their
But
uh,
currently they are blaming who are they
the
blaming?
government.
The government.
As far as I know, yeah, the latest I'm seeing in Hebrew media is blaming the government, but they'll
Well,
keep switching.
I saw the opposite, to be honest.
Okay,
But
Okay, well,
but we know also, we have to know also, as Sima always says, and she told me, yani, she's the one that opened my eyes about this. So the Israeli media is so extreme now. What's happening in the United States, for instance, you see, like Fox News, whatever Trump says, they will try to manipulate it, so you can see that Trump is like the king and he never lies. And for instance, the CNN is completely the opposite. The same thing applies in Israel. There's far right media and lefties in the media. So some people sometimes, for instance, you'll see trustworthy, for instance, media saying something and another media saying completely the opposite thing.
but how crazy that
yeah.
they deleted this post. I mean, this is like, yes, they are aligned with the government, but they're not state media. So probably a government official contacted them and told them to take
Yeah,
it down.
100%. Yani.
Um,
And we know that first they were very happy and they praised him, and now as if no, we have nothing to do about this guy.
and wasn't the US silent about this? I think it was, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
think the United States, they have enough.
Like Tom Barak, like wasn't Tom Barak had nothing to say about this. He's too busy, like, you
He's
know.
in Ukraine.
He's too busy threatening Lebanon. He's in Iraq, actually.
Yeah,
Okay,
I know. I'm just kidding. No, but now all the shift is towards Ukraine
By the way,
and Venezuela.
he has vanished entirely since his name showed up in the Epstein emails, by the way.
Barack.
Like, I mean, in terms of comments, like they've really, decreased.
They've kept him a bit out of the spotlight. I'm sure not for long. I'm sure it's not for long.
No, exactly. Definitely not for long.
Let's move on, guys. I think it's a very, we'll keep an eye, of course, in the situation in Syria. Chaos benefits those who, thrive from chaos, that being the Zionists. Um, but something else, that is happening in Israel. Let's actually get into this because I guess it's been the top news over the past day. Netanyahu is asking for a pardon in his corruption case. He has formally requested a pardon from Israeli President Isaac Herzog. I didn't know that Herzog had the power to pardon criminals. In any case, he has asked for this formally, and Herzog has said that he will consider the well-being of the state first and foremost, right? If he decides to pardon Netanyahu, many questions remain here. Chief among them, the fact that to be pardoned, you need to take responsibility for the crime. Like
Mm.
you cannot be, declared innocent and pardoned at the same time. It kind of just, makes no sense. But I guess Netanyahu, and this is just my point of view, I feel like he wants both things, right? Like this is a man who wants his cake and to eat it too. He's not going to take responsibility, right? And let's also remind our listeners that he's being tried at the moment for corruption in one of his previous administrations. Emperor Bibi, in one of his many terms in office, was allegedly accepting gifts from some Hollywood mogul, him and his wife, the lovely Sarah Netanyahu. Um, and now he's being tried for this. It's also a way, I suppose, this asking for a pardon is his way to try to skirt responsibility for the failures of October 7th. I'm pretty sure Netanyahu remains the only Israeli leader that has yet to take any responsibility for what happened on
Mm.
October 7th. I feel like the political and military echelon, almost everyone has already gone on the record as said, this was partly my fault, etc., etc. What do you guys make of this pardon request? Because also remember, not Netanyahu, but Alto easy to get them confused. Donald Trump has asked at least twice of the Israeli judiciary to pardon this great man, this absolute, the pinnacle of Western civilization, one would say, in Benjamin Netanyahu. He has called them, all of the nice names in the book, asking for him to be pardoned. Is he going to be pardoned? What do you guys think?
Um, I'll go first, Karim,
Go
if
first.
you don't mind. I mean, I
No
just wanted to
problem.
point out before I say a few things about this that guys, when we're talking about like the internal Israeli political landscape, please disregard the fact that he's a war criminal and that he's killed hundreds of thousands of people because Israelis don't care about
They
that.
don't give up.
So if I'm not talking about that, it's not because it's not important, but if we're talking about what's happening with the Israelis, they don't care.
It's because it's
Any
irrelevant for Israeli society.
yes, any issue they have with him has nothing to do with the fact that he's a war criminal. So I just thought I would make that clear. And it's funny, the thing about admitting guilt, because just a few weeks ago, he publicly declared that he would never request a pardon if it required admitting wrongdoing. And I think the question we should be asking is, what's the deal here? Will he just be required to admit to being guilty and then he can stay prime minister, or will he actually have to retire from politics? Because the whole point of him requesting this pardon is so that he can stay in politics. So we need to see what the deal is behind the scenes. Like, obviously, he's going to have to give something up, or he has so much dirt on everybody, even internally, that he won't have to give
He'll
anything
give
up.
up
But
his wife before he gives up power.
yeah, I mean, because again, he's like, oh, like the Middle East is on the verge of extraordinary events. We're changing the Middle East. I have all these war fronts going. So obviously, he's not willing to step out of if he's not even willing to admit to wrongdoing. Of course, he's not going to step out of politics. Okay, so I also just wanted to point out that the report he submitted to the president is like 111 pages long. Um, the one that was delivered to Isaac Herzog's office this weekend, and it was like signed personally by Netanyahu. And he's like, these are critical times. We need national unity. This is distracting me from my duties and all this stuff, because he knows that if he's not doing the wars and the killing, that Israel is like a mess, right? Because the only thing that brings them together really is this, which is, as you know better than me, the polls say that he still has a lot of support. A lot of people would
Let's
still vote for him.
Can you put up the Haaretz article I sent you, Karim, on the screen? Go ahead, Sima. Just so to contrast it, to showcase this idea.
Yeah, so I mean, it may be the case that a lot of people hate him, but those people who hate him will still vote for him because they feel like he's the only one who can like get the job done because Israel's at war. So it doesn't really mean anything when you see how much complaining there is, and people are like always complaining about Bibi Bibi, but those same people are most likely going to end up voting for him. So I just wanted to point that out. And again, like you mentioned, Esteban, there's this pressure by Trump, right? He's like, he was asking Herzog to pardon him. He called him like an amazing wartime prime minister. And obviously Trump's involved here, right? It's not like this is against Trump's will. We know this because he asked for it himself. And the backlash has been very loud in the Israeli political establishment and in the media. But the question is, how strong is the opposition? Like, how much leverage does the opposition have here? Because even if they have good relations with the Americans, so does Netanyahu. So,
let me just point a couple of things about this policy. Sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead. No,
of
course.
Because this is actually, I don't know, it gives me a bit of a laugh. It says the Channel 12 news poll found that 36% of respondents would support a pardon for Netanyahu. So that number rises to 38%, that is 2%, if the pardon is conditioned on the prime minister stepping down from politics. So 36% of Israelis are saying, we want the pardon for Netanyahu and for him to also stay in politics, for him to actually, remain in power. So I guess it really just shows you the state of Israeli society. I mean, like, truly a deranged society at the moment. And you also have, the poll from like a month ago, in which Israelis were asked, if elections were held today, who would you vote for? And the most seats in the Knesset would go to Netanyahu's party, to the Likud. So even if Netanyahu resigns, let's say, okay, he resigns, he pardons, whatever. How long is that going to last? Like,
exactly.
Honestly.
Someone in the comments, sorry, I don't know if I can saying your name correctly. Mori Yokiri 3229. Netanyahu could just retire temporarily, make some moves behind the scenes, and come back again as the savior. He's done it before. Yes. Exactly, is why I'm asking, what does the deal look like? Because he'll retire for 1 year and then come back, or max 2 years. But again, this is when he needs to be in power. So is he willing to do that? Like, I just want to know what the deal looks like, really. And again, there's also the question of like, a lot of his allies want him to step down.
Yeah,
because you know how they frame Netanyahu as the problem. And if they get rid of Netanyahu, then Israel can be rehabilitated. Its image can be rehabilitated. The Saudis can normalize everything. You know what I mean? Like, for them, of course, we know that Israel is the problem and not Netanyahu, but they want that. But will they be able to push? Because there's an effort for that. But how much leverage do they have? Go ahead, Karim.
Yeah, the first thing when I saw that he requested a pardon from the president, the first thing I thought of it, this is the happened following Trump's tweet asking the Israelis to pardon him. This is also following Trump going to the Knesset and also pointing out that they should pardon Netanyahu because he's a hero for the Israelis. And the second thing that I thought about is that uh, knowing Netanyahu and knowing how he thinks and acts in the past at least 40 years, I don't think the deal is gonna be achieved now. I think the deal
Hmm.
is already done. That's why he requested it. I don't think Netanyahu is a guy that will like just make these papers and go ask
Okay.
the president without even knowing the outcome.
What do you
That's
think the
in my
deal is?
opinion.
What do you think he has to sacrifice?
I agree with the viewer. This is also came to my mind. Yani he can sit back for 1 year, maybe 6 months or whatever, and then everybody will request Netanyahu to come back, and he will come back as a hero
as the
again.
savior.
So
I
that's
definitely see that.
but
Mhm.
also there's also a big problem in Israel. We know that the protest and the problems in Israel started before 7th of October. Israel
Yeah.
had
Judicial
like
reforms.
yeah, I think there was like 4 or 5 prime ministers in less than 1 year. They elected
They had, what was it? It was 3 elections in 5 years, right? It was like they kept going through governments. They didn't last a year.
yeah, 100%. And
Yeah.
they had like Lapid and Banat and
Bennett, yeah.
Netanyahu and one that I forgot his name. I think they had four prime ministers. So there's problems in Israel, and let us not to forget that Israel is and Tel Aviv, especially, it's one of the most expensive cities in the world, and now they should suffer, and they are suffering after the wars. And also we have the Haredim issue, which is a very big problem in Israel. I think Sima can explain more than me, but the main issue is that, for instance, Haredim, they don't serve in the army,
That's
and
the ultra Orthodox Jews.
yeah,
Right.
ultra Orthodox Jews, and we know that in Israel everybody must serve, even girls and men both should serve, except if you are a Haredim, and there's many Haredim in Israel, and they are not serving, and for them they only pray for the state, and they also say that they are Israel is very strong because they pray for Israel. And they don't fight. So this is also a big problem in Israel, and we saw many protests. Usually, they are ignited by the Haredim, and also we have the left wing and the right wing. And for instance, people
Hmm.
that are with the LGBTQS plus community and the people that are against. So maybe also there's a chance that maybe. Netanyahu will not come back because there will be many problems over upon problems before him maybe coming back and helping the government because
I mean, it says a lot the fact that this man's the glue, right?
yeah
That is
yeah
keeping
yeah
everything
Exactly.
together.
He is the glue.
yeah, especially after what happened. And as Sima said, the problems that he's facing in Israel has nothing to do with him killing all these people, thousands of people, and committing genocide and assassinating people across 4 or 5 countries. No, the problem is that is like bribery,
Yes.
and is like that
Uh,
he's taking like some money and some wine and some city gets.
Cigars. He took a lot of
Yes,
cigars.
yeah, some cigars. And the problem inside in Israel is not about also that they are committing genocide, and they are facing all these problems because they are Israelis. No, it's because of the Haredim. If the Haredim take over, then the LGBTQ community will have less power, and vice versa. And these are the main issues in Israel. And of course, along all of this is that Tel Aviv now is among the 3 or 4 top expensive cities in the world.
I mean, U.S. taxpayers will take care of that last one. And I actually disagree with you, Karim. I think the biggest problem is, unfortunately, anti-Semitism because
Yeah.
it's just so
The
bad.
flower
It's just so
power.
bad.
Flower power always has the best comments. Flower power says he will become a Middle East peace envoy. Um,
Yeah.
like if he steps down from politics, and
We'll
then
see.
and then
Or they will give him a position like Tony Blair.
yeah, maybe. Soulstar2401 says the hope is that whoever comes next would not have the competence and the cunning behavior of Netanyahu. I would hope that the person who comes next would not have the leverage that Netanyahu has, the dirt that Netanyahu has on everybody. But I don't know anymore. And he is the glue that holds everyone. Who can hold a coalition like him? I see that whether he stays or goes, Israel is in store for a lot of problems. To be honest with you.
Yeah, and also now I was just thinking, you might agree with me, Sima. I think now Smotrich and Ben Gavir, they have power in Israel and in the streets of Israel for the people. And I think if anybody that comes different than Netanyahu, I think uh, their party or their thoughts will be even more extreme towards Israelis themselves, not over only Palestinians.
Yeah, that's a big possibility for sure. Especially with the expansion and the violence that's happening in the West Bank now, and
You
what will
saw, I
happen with the
mean, you,
settlers, and they keep arming settlers, and
they keep arming
yeah.
settlers. You saw the report in Israel Hayom a few days ago about how like Christians are being abused in the West Bank. Like as more tourists arrive, they're getting spit on. They're getting, well, the classic acts of the
Culture,
chosen
culture.
people.
I
Yeah, the
That's
just
culture.
I just think that if he leaves, it's going to look bad, and if he stays, things are also going to go badly. Like I don't in the long run, I don't see that Israel has a future, right? And I just think that it depends what road is taken. Definitely, it's you will see a very amusing kind of collapse start to happen if he actually steps down from politics. I personally, again, I might be proven wrong like in 1 month or less. I don't think that he's willing to step down even for 2 years because he has such like momentum right now, according
He
to him.
does. I mean, look at the
So
polls. Come on, like they don't lie. They,
do you
I saw
think?
someone asking like, how can we trust these polls? Well, they're like Channel 12 polls. They're like the biggest broadcast network in Israel, and they have
And
said it
I
before.
just want to clarify something. In Israel, Israel is a very small country. If they make a poll in Tel Aviv, this really usually reflects the general public of Israel. It's not like other countries, like for instance, United States. You see a state completely with Trump and a state completely
mm.
against Trump.
I mean, keep in mind Haaretz is like liberal, like anti-Netanyahu. I mean,
Yeah.
why would they fake polls about, you know,
Why would Channel 12 fake polls? This is
same
like from
thing.
Channel 12.
I mean, yeah,
Uh,
guys, not everything they put out is a lie, just 50% of it.
yeah, exactly. Well put. Yeah, I don't know what else we have about
I
this
just
topic.
about Netanyahu.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, I think we have to see what happens. I think is this gonna because it's obviously wearing him down. Like he wants to deal with this. He wants to be done with this. He wouldn't have submitted the request for the pardon
True.
otherwise, right?
That is very true.
So I
And
don't
and
Today
know
he
if
also
also got another reprieve from his what do you call it? From his testimony.
for his trial, yeah,
Yeah,
again
like that
yeah,
today.
was
yeah,
pushed again because of
mm,
security reasons. So be
Jesus, yeah.
on the lookout because he's about to bomb somewhere,
Hmm.
as it always happens. Yeah, whoever comes after Netanyahu, I really don't see it. I can't picture it. Like in my mind, I try to picture it,
Mm.
and it's like just an impending disaster. Whoever comes after him,
Yeah, I
because he's
still
gonna have
believe
to
he's
deal.
the last PM.
He is, like I said, he is the glue. Like the man is the preferred choice of the Israeli population. He truly is. They have shown us this time and time again. Clifford Bostria, thank you so
Thank you,
much for your
Clifford.
super chat. The Cradle Channel broadcast is best. Yes, we are. Thank you so much. Make sure to leave a like. Do you guys have any more thoughts about the possibility of Netanyahu leaving power or just being pardoned?
Uh, هلا
If not, we can move
still
on.
هلا he might get pardon for him not to be like asked to go to the court every now and then. It might be that simple. Also, we have to know that this guy controls everything. He like outs everybody who is confronted him, even in the middle of the war. And now most of the government is with him, and he knows how to manipulate people and the population of Israel. So and the moment this came out, many people started to say, oh, this means that he will stop engaging in politics. It might not be, and it might be. We have to
Mm.
wait, and everything that we are listening to and saying is speculation.
Yes.
But of course, it's very good uh, to talk about this, because now we know, and we have the thoughts and the vision. If he will stop being a politician, what does that mean? And if he continues, what that also means.
I don't see it. I don't see it. Okay, let's move on. Let's actually, well, not too far, because we should talk about some of the things happening in and around Gaza.
Yeah.
Just a brief mention. I don't think we need to get into this too deeply today. UN Commission of Experts issued a report calling or saying Israel has a de facto state policy of organized torture that is widespread, that is complete, exists in complete impunity. Nothing that we have not talked about before here, nothing that we don't know. I mean, if anything,
Exactly.
this has been proven time and time and time again. But you have that another stripe to add to the tiger. Reports that Israeli troops have killed all of the Palestinian fighters trapped inside of their, or at the very least, a large number of the Palestinian fighters trapped underneath
Yeah.
Rafah.
I want to say something about that in a
Yeah,
bit,
let me
if you
just
don't
very
mind.
quickly just mention one last thing about this. Well,
Of
about this
course.
situation. Today also reports that Egypt has started to build the, the command center for the so-called Gaza Stabilization Force,
Oh man.
just at the same time as one country after the other comes out and says, we are not going to give any troops for this because it means that we're going to have to do the job that the Israelis want us to do, which is kill Palestinians. So we rather not. So now you have Pakistan, Azerbaijan, etc. We'll get into that in a moment. But yes, Sim, I know you want to talk about the Rafah tunnel situation. So please go ahead.
Yeah, no, and just before that, the UN report you mentioned, the thing that's extraordinary but so unshocking is that Israel literally has no law criminalizing torture. Like other corrupt countries will have a law, but just not like
Like
implement the
ignore it.
law.
Yeah.
Whereas Israel just doesn't have it, and it's like take a minute to
Only
think about that.
democracy in West
I
Asia,
mean,
guys. The only
and this
democracy.
is the same thing that goes into actually like the tunnel heroes in Rafah, which is like imagine that these people who are besieged with no food and no resources and cut off from their main leadership are being demonized and dehumanized for resisting. And it's like, where is, I mean, honestly, where is the even according to like the Geneva Convention, you can't do that to fighters who are no longer in active battle. Like, by the way, this is one of the most painful and underreported stories uh, unfolding, honestly, in my opinion, because, what they're saying now is that the majority of them have been killed. And we're not going to share photos and videos here because there are a lot of photos and videos of these fighters who have been martyred because Israel is set on eliminating them all, as we discussed last time. There's videos of them being detained and taunted, like, oh, Hamas left you all alone with no food, huh? And stuff like that. A lot of horrible photos. In fact, yesterday, oh, is that the power? No problem. We're still on, right? In
Yeah,
fact,
yeah.
Make sure
yes.
to hit that like and to check out our Patreon where you can support the Cradle as we go a bit dark. Go ahead, Sim. We still here.
Yesterday, we found out that the son of senior Hamas official Ghazi Hamad, senior Hamas official and chief negotiator, was martyred in Rafah. His son was one of the trapped heroes in Rafah. Um, Again, I just want to remind our viewers that they were estimated at 200, then they were revised down to 150. Last week, 80. And now, according to Israeli journalists, only a handful are still alive. If you believe this, they are lying and there are more. That is your, prerogative. But this is what is being said in the media. These fighters, again, they were cut off from their leadership months ago. Hamas openly said that it lost all contact with them. They are surrounded. They are starving. They are exhausted. And they're likely unaware. They had likely been, unaware that a ceasefire had even begun. Because as you remember, back in the day, they killed at least 2 soldiers who were trying to enter the tunnels. So again, the U.S. pushed for a deal, and it fell through because Israel has no such desire to let them go. Israel's saying that in the last week they killed 40 at least, just in this past week, and that dozens of tunnels were blown up, and I don't know what. And Hossam Badran, who is a Hamas official, has confirmed that the movement has been trying to hold negotiations to save them, to reach a logical solution. But he says Israel just stalled and floated impossible conditions and scenarios, and they have been completely abandoned. I think Israel's main proposal to these fighters, the most recent one, according to Israeli media, is you surrender and you disarm and you go to, no, not Hamas-controlled Gaza, to Israeli prisons. I mean, these fighters will not surrender to go to Israeli prisons. And then they were saying something along the lines of, oh, if you behave, then you can eventually be released back into Hamas-controlled Gaza, but you will have to renounce terrorism and all this stuff. I just wanted to say, like, these people are not faceless fighters. Like, they're not cartoons in a propaganda video. These are young men, many of them in their 20s, who have been abandoned. These people have families, they have dreams. As you can see, with just one of them, their father is a head Hamas official. These are people with unshakable conviction and high faith, and they have been completely abandoned by the international system in a world that dehumanizes men, especially men from our region, and demonizes especially armed men who are fighting for their rights. And because they're fighters, the world acts as if their lives don't matter. And so nobody really reports on it except for the niche journalists and pages that are concerned with this subject. But again, international law is very clear that if you are fighters or combatants who are encircled or trapped, who can no longer really fully participate in hostilities, then you're basically protected under the first Geneva Convention. You cannot be killed once you're trapped or starving, basically. Yet here we are. This is the systematic annihilation of these men. And these are the men who, fought and resisted and left to die in silence, complete silence, and the world has stopped looking. And for me, it's just completely heartbreaking. And I think it's worth shedding a light on because, again, we always see women and children, but the men, it's just like nothing, nothing.
No, I think no, I think you put it perfectly, Sima. Do you have any thoughts, Karim?
No, she said it perfectly.
Yeah, I don't think it
Yeah,
truly
yeah.
is a disheartening
Yeah, yeah,
situation.
yeah, and she made me think about it. Yeah, it's exactly. And imagine you're being under a tunnel for 2 years because you want to fight and liberate your country, and now because you're just a man and captured and you're being humiliated, and your photos and videos are in Hebrew and Arabic and English, making fun of you and mocking you, and nobody's talking about it.
Ah, my God. Sad news today at the Cradle. In any case,
Every episode, everyone in the comments is like, "You guys, I'm so depressed," and it's like, it's
imagine
fine.
us having to be
Just
like
wait for,
writing about this every single
Just
day.
wait for
just
Sharmeen.
wait for Charmine to come on.
And Charmaine is the injection of hope that some of our
Yeah.
listeners need.
No, I
Um,
mean she's yeah. I mean it's I think it's just like two sides of both are very much needed, and yeah.
And
no,
it's also
it's
because
just
we're
a good
talking about
discussion to have.
yeah,
Go ahead, go ahead.
because also we're talking about politics. So there's the short term and long term. Yeah, maybe Sharmin is talking about like maybe 1 year ahead. We're talking about the current time. Sometimes people talk about 1 month ahead. So that's why also the views varies from time to time.
Yes, by the
I
way.
think you want to talk about the ISF as well briefly, Estima. But someone in the comments is asking about the Pope coming to Lebanon. We don't know why he came, but there is some kind of hidden political reason
He came.
behind it.
Wasn't
I'm
Francis supposed to
convinced.
come? Francis was supposed to go to Lebanon. He had said that before his death. So I think what's his face?
Maybe. I
Leo.
mean,
He's
yeah.
he's fulfilling
But the
He's
maybe.
timing
fulfilling
is
that.
just
Yeah.
a bit like I'm not going to
Yeah.
speculate about this, but because it's at such a sensitive time. You have all the Lebanese media being like, the night he leaves, the war begins. Like Israel's going to destroy Lebanon, but they're just waiting for the Pope to leave. And it's like, okay, we don't know anything. But I don't know. There's something with the timing. There's something with. I mean, he was
It's
supposed to come
shady.
anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
it's
bit
weird.
shady with the deadlines today.
Hala, I have
Hold
yeah.
on, Karim. Thomas Barak told the Iraqis, because he's visiting Baghdad, that Israeli war on Lebanon is imminent, that it's going to be brutal, and that the Iraqi factions better not interfere. So you have all of these discourse.
Yeah.
Sorry, who said that?
According to Al Hadath, sources to Al Hadath, Tom Barak warned the
Oh,
Iraqis that war on Lebanon is coming very soon.
yeah.
I mean,
So that's the news, right? I mean, unfortunate. It's quite unfortunate, and unfortunate, and like also unfortunate. Well, the position that the Pope has taken, like when he said, "Well, I can't call it a genocide." Okay, Leo. Okay, we see you.
yeah.
In
Or
any
Laoun, as they call him in Arabic, Laoun. I don't know
in any
why.
case,
Yeah.
let's go back to the stabilization force, right? The Gaza stabilization force. These what were they called? Like peacekeepers that were supposed to come into Gaza, just bring joy and prosperity and progress, etc., to disarm Hamas. No country is willing to take part in it. Even the ones that had initially said, okay, get a UN Security Council mandate, Mr. Trump, and we will provide the troops. One after the other, they are backing down. They are saying, you know what, actually, this sounds like a very shady thing in which we are going to end up at The Hague at one point or another for killing Palestinian civilians. So rather not. Now, like I said, reports today that Egypt has begun, nevertheless, to build the command center for these forces. I wonder who they're gonna be. I mean, honestly, I feel like at the end of the day, it's just gonna be mercenaries. Like they're just gonna
100%.
again, because there was this report. Where was it? I think it was Dropside News last week. They were talking about how one of the companies behind the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, also known as the Hunger Games, was UG Solutions. It was they were recruiting again. They were recruiting again mercenaries for another scheme inside Gaza, which, to be honest, it has to be the stabilization force because okay, like I said, I think Indonesia has said no, Pakistan has said no, Azerbaijan has said no. The Gulf states, I don't think they have also agreed to send any troops. So who's gonna be the stabilization force?
Every country the US counted on is distancing itself. We had Azerbaijan last week, and now Pakistan's like, that's not our job to disarm Hamas. And Pakistan's also like Indonesia feels the same way we do. So, yeah, I don't know who's going to be, like you said, it's going to be it's going to be mercenaries. I mean,
Who else?
it's going to
Honestly,
be,
I mean,
I don't
I
know.
know Karim sometimes says that it might be the Egyptian army. Do you
Yeah,
still
like, from
think
the
that?
first, I say Egypt because this is very logical.
I mean,
Uh,
it's logical, but I don't think they're in the mood to do it.
why no?
I mean, I don't think they're
It's
going to do it.
Egypt. They do whatever. Yani,
They didn't let they didn't let I mean they extorted money, but they didn't exactly 100% follow orders of letting all of the Palestinians in Gaza into Egypt when they were trying to empty Gaza as well.
yeah, 100, yeah, 100%. But Egypt role, its foreign policy is totally aligned with the Israelis.
I know, but
When the talks began between people saying or in the media and politicians that Lebanon and Israel should sit together on the table and talk, who came for this? Egypt. And Egypt didn't open Rafah. Rafah. Egypt was struck by
I know.
Israelis. Egypt, yeah. So Egypt
No, I
is
know.
complicit in this,
Of
and
course
Egypt,
Egypt is complicit.
yeah, and they have the capability, and they are friends with the Israelis and with Hamas and with the Americans. So I don't see any other country that can go in except Egypt.
As enforcement troops that will kill Hamas fighters and Sarai
I don't think
al-Quds.
they will kill Hamas fighters, but also we have to know that Hamas will never make Egypt upset.
That doesn't
So,
mean they'll
I mean,
be allowed.
how do you achieve the goal, which is to
If
disarm
it's
Hamas?
peacekeeping, they'll do it. But I'm just saying, like, look, for me, I'm never defending Egypt. Egypt is very complicit. We know their policy. But for me, I think it's a very complicated relationship. I'm not an expert on this relationship, but the relationship between the resistance and the Egyptian intelligence goes back many years. Yahya Sinwar had a very good relationship with them. Yani, I don't think it's that black or white that you're right, it's the most logical. But again, I don't see how Egyptian troops would go into like disarm them by force. Yeah, and you're right. Maybe they can bring them to come to some kind of understanding because they are mediators and they talk with Ham. But to disarm them by force, I mean, I
I
don't
didn't
see it.
say they will disarm
No, but that's the role
this
we're talking about.
yeah, but I'm هلا you're the point is that as you said, people are thinking black and white. Them sending troops there or their army there doesn't mean that the army will go in the houses and kill. They can stay there for collecting intelligence. They can plan devices. They can help the international community to disarm Hamas. That doesn't mean that they will go and disarm Hamas. The same
Mm,
thing is happening in Lebanon. They made something called the mechanism, which has many parties, if we can say it. We have Lebanon, Israel, the Americans, the Lebanese army, and France. And the role of it is to spy on Hezbollah and see
mhm.
where's the weapons. Sometimes Israel come and bombs them. Sometimes the Lebanese army takes them. Sometimes the Lebanese army say, okay, we can go there and take these weapons, but we will not go to this village and take this weapon. So I think it will be somehow the same idea of mechanism, because otherwise this will never happen in any shape or form.
Mm.
Egypt or without Egypt, this will never happen. They have to negotiate more, because as we said it before here in the podcast, the problem is that Trump went on live TV and said he has a plan, and the plan is 1, 2, 3, and there's no details in these plans. He doesn't have this a politician mentality. He has a businessman mentality. So he thought he can negotiate or he can pressure them, but there's things that you have to set on the ground, step by step. One, you have to do this, two, three, four, five, as every single thing that has been signed in history. There is points for it. Trump just went live and said we have to do one, two, three, and because unfortunately every single leader in the world is afraid of Trump. Everybody said yes, okay. They were afraid of the tariffs. They were afraid of the sanctions.
Donald Trump is a master of putting the cart before the horse. He wants
Yeah,
the picture with the peace banner, peace in the Middle East, he said. And now the answer to them is like, empty, very, very empty. I want to mention something. Today, was it today? Yes. The Stockholm International Peace Research Institute revealed that, that the genocide in Gaza has pushed global arms sales to a record 679 billion in 2024. What a business war is, honestly. What a perfect business. And this is, I feel, why, when we talked about like the stabilization force or anything, the situation in Syria, the situation in Lebanon, you're not going to see a de-escalation. You're never going to see a true effort from, the leaders of democracy and freedom and all of that, to actually, an off-ramp for the violence, for peace. No, you're going to continue to see more and more war. War is going to be spread like the gospel around the world. That's what's happening in Venezuela now. In the Caribbean waters, you have reports by the Intercept saying that the Department of War plans to stay in the plans to keep troops in Caribbean waters until at least 2028. They've closed
Hmm.
Venezuela's airspace. They're meddling in elections in Honduras. They are threatening left and right. I mean, we really are living in this era in which it's war or nothing.
Hmm.
It's war or nothing. And you can see it in the numbers. Like, look at this, 679 billion in a single year. And that's like mainly for US arm makers who control about 50% of the entire global arms trade. And I think this is also where you will find the answer, right? Like the Gaza Stabilization Force is going to be mercenaries. It's going to
Yeah.
be an army of mercenaries. And they're going to launder the money. They're going to launder the money through UG Solutions, Savory Solutions, whatever the hell else the next entity is called. And, Donald Trump is going to laugh his way all the way to the bank. And Netanyahu is going to get a pardon. And I don't know how the hell any of this is going to unravel, but I just wanted to mention this because
Mhm.
it's truly disheartening.
No, for sure. And what West Asia achieved its largest presence in the top 100 with 9 companies generating 31 billion. This was in 2024, right? Not 2025.
2024, yes.
Yeah. And Israeli manufacturers, as you guys already know, increased sales throughout the genocide in Gaza. So, like you said, it's like that. There's your answer
The
when
genocide,
you
the Gaza is the blueprint
no,
for what's come.
the
I
blueprint.
mean,
Yeah.
we cannot blind ourselves to this fact. Before I let you go on, Karim, thank you so much to Jolly Lollipop One for the super chat. I'll give you 1,000 if you have Candace as a guest. Okay.
Candace is like
Candace Owens, I imagine.
not.
That should be
Yeah,
an
but
interesting
like
one.
yeah, we can. Yeah, did she stop her show permanently or just for a while after she? Did you see what happened with Candace?
I have never followed that woman.
Oh, well,
I'm
there's
sorry
this
to
whole
say.
thing where like she's like comes out and talks about how Macron's wife is
Yeah, I'm
a
aware of that one.
man,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
now apparently like she claims they're like trying to assassinate her, and she brings like receipts for everything she claims, and she had to stop her show because they want like they apparently
Assassinate her.
wanted to kill her. Yeah, I don't know, but there's all the Charlie Kirk stuff and all of that, and
yeah, she
she's
can
been
come.
investigating that.
She
She
can come to Beirut. I'll protect her.
oh my god, Kareem. Oh
Oh
my
my
god,
God!
that's funny.
You are the meme of the I am the rocket. You are the rocket,
Yeah.
Karim.
By the way, someone here was like, "What's peacekeeping?" When we were talking about peacekeeping and enforcement, guys. When I say peacekeeping, this is like their definitions. Like, I'm not here to tell you that peacekeeping is peace, but yes, there's a difference between peacekeeping and enforcement. Peacekeeping is like UNIFIL here in Lebanon. UNIFIL, okay, it spies on us, but no, it doesn't forcefully attack and try to disarm Hezbollah. So I would just like to clarify that peacekeeping is when you take a so-called neutral stance, even if you're not actually neutral, to supposedly, stop people from firing on each other, stop the sides, quote unquote, from firing from each other, protect civilians, and this kind of thing. So it's a passive role. Enforcement means you try to disarm the factions by force. So I hope that I made that clear for you when I was discussing with Karim the nature of the role Egypt would play as either enforcement or peacekeeping role. All right.
I think we have gone over everything we had to discuss. I don't know if I'm actually forgetting about anything. Always so many things to
Mm-mm,
talk
but
about.
why don't you tell us what's going on with Honduras and
Well, in Honduras, like I said, Medellin, they're trying to like steal the elections. I'm so like tired of this discussion because it's like
mm,
the same tech, the same strategy every single time they announce early results that have been manipulated so that the U.S. backed candidate. By the way, very interesting to see peacemaker Donald Trump in his crusade against drugs pardoning a convicted drug trafficker in the former president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez, who was serving time for trafficking cocaine. And
Oh,
he was a U.S. Backed president in Honduras for so long before Xiomara Castro came to power. Now they're trying to steal it again. The situation in Venezuela also, I don't know what you guys make of it. Like, I feel like at this point, it's been like 3 months since they started putting the ships in the Caribbean. They've killed dozens of people at sea. They have blocked Venezuela's airspace. They are saying that Trump spoke with Maduro.
yeah,
I'm
they
not sure.
claimed.
I'm
Yeah,
not
he
sure
said he
about
wouldn't
that one.
say.
Yeah, I'm not
he
sure
said
about
it
that one.
on the Air Force One. He said that he talked with him.
I don't believe him, man. He said Ansar Allah begged him like to stop because they don't want to fight anymore.
Yeah,
Like
and
so,
I,
maybe they talked, maybe they did. I don't know, but
I
anyway,
mean,
go ahead.
like we
I'm not
haven't,
saying no.
as is the case in general. We haven't had confirmation from the other side, which is like
Hmm.
leaves everything up in question. But it feels like Trump. I mean, 600 what was the number? 694 billion, something. What I just gave you in 2024. Why are they want to go to war in Venezuela, and why are they deploying National Guard in U.S. streets and saying this whole thing with the Afghan shooter, and we're not going to take any more immigration requests from third world countries, and we need to actually the Department of Homeland Security tweeting remigration now, like let's get rid of immigrants.
Hmm.
I mean, it's a very profitable business war. War at home, war abroad. Let's keep the ships. Let's keep making bombs so we can destroy, so we can take the oil. But as it stands now, it really feels like there's a lot of bark and not so much bite when it comes to Venezuela. I feel like that can
Mm,
change very quickly, of course. But in any case, this will be the Donald Trump's grave. If he enters Venezuela, as he tries to take power in Venezuela to oust Maduro, that who after 3 months of having his coastline surrounded by ships with bombers flying outside of the capital, and yet nobody in the army has turned against him. And there's videos of Maduro walking around in the streets with like thousands of people behind him. He's arming the population, and you want us to believe that this is the most hated man in Venezuela? I mean, go dig your own grave, Donald, because this is
Yeah,
not going to end up well for you.
they don't have Gulf media in Venezuela. They will fail.
did Zahran Mamdani say anything again about these calling these guys dictators and stuff, or was that just before he
I think
became
this was
mayor?
an old quote, but
Ah, it was an old one because I saw it resurfacing. I thought maybe he said something again because we know his views on that.
birds of a
Who?
feather.
Mamdan Zahrani?
Yeah, yeah, Mamdan Zahran, yes.
These are
Zahran Mamdani.
you cannot
Yeah.
place any trust on U.S. politicians, unfortunately. Well, in any case, guys, I think we can wrap up today's episode here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to leave a like after we finish this stream. Make sure to leave a comment as well. This really really helps with the recommendations to get this video to more viewers. And make sure to check out our Patreon, where you can become a direct supporter of the Cradle, help us continue to do our work. Check out our memberships as well. Check us out in our other social media accounts. We can be found on Instagram, on Telegram, and on X as well. So follow us there. Thank you to our
Reminder,
patrons.
reminder. Instagram is not the Cradle anymore because we were banned twice. It's now TC Media News. If you're interested.
So find us there because
Yes.
we've had to keep a bit of a low profile. In any case, thank you so much, and we will see